I wanted to give some mental health based on my own personal experience when a parent's child gets diagnosed with a mental health condition. So one of the things that's important when it comes to when your child is basically diagnosed is, and this is something that I experienced in the UK and Wales, and this is something that they didn't really think to do. Like I don't know why, it might be something overlooked this time around, but what's important is that not only is it good that the child, whether it's a kid, whether it's a teenager, or whether it's like a young adult, um, when your child is diagnosed at any age, and they might not even be a child anymore by the time they're diagnosed, because you can be diagnosed at any point in time in life. It's important that the psychologist that you see, the mental health professional you see, basically teaches the parent or teaches you in this instance, about your child's mental health condition and how the mental health condition might affect your child. So it's important when it comes to mental health, when it comes to the parent and the child, that both of them understand their mental health condition. Because you're going to have to understand, how to approach your child, because they're going to think differently, because they're going to have this thing called neuro-divergency, where the way their brain works, the way in which they think is going to be completely different. So it's very, very important that the psychologist teaches the parent about the mental health condition. Have I got anything else here? Because you're going to have to change the way in which you approach your child and how you communicate with your child, for instance, because depending on the condition, where there's dyslexia, even though that's more like a mental health, more of a learning difficulty than a mental health issue. Any child with any sort of neurodivergency, difference in the way in which the brain thinks, basically, you're going to have to change the way in which you talk to your child. Because what I've learned politically, like when it comes to talking to people you disagree with, you can't be antagonistic and you can't approach them with facts. But this instance is that when you're talking with people with different mental health conditions and different neurodivergencies, being being strict and shouting isn't actually going to make it better. It's actually going to make it worse. It's going to make your child act up even more so. Like, I have OCPD, and I had an incident with a family member where they weren't talking to me properly, and they were talking to me with a heightened voice, creating a hostile environment, and that didn't help calm me down or anything. It just made me worse. So it's important that the psychologist teaches the parent and teaches the child, because you've got to understand your child's own mental health condition. And it's important that you acknowledge that your child's mental health condition is real, because you can't solve a problem by ignoring the problem and pretending the problem doesn't exist. And I should say with that as well is it's nothing to be ashamed of if your child has a mental health condition. Mental health issues are just something that you can't control. They happen. We're not perfect beings. We don't know every mistake. We're not going to understand every mistake we're going to make. We're not going to understand how things come into play. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to feel. You shouldn't feel as if like you're a bad parent or whatever, because it's unpredictable. We're not gods that know the future. We're not all geniuses, but we don't have psychic ability. So surely if you knew what mistakes you were going to make before you make them, you would have corrected those mistakes and you would have been that perfect parent. But that's not the reality that we live in. So if your child has a mental health condition, there's nothing to be ashamed of, because it's important that you acknowledge your child's mental health condition, because sometimes it becomes a part of who they are, and to reject their mental health condition is to reject your child as well. So anyway, so that's something that psychologists need, like, if then if they are not doing this is something that needs to change. You have to learn about your child's condition. You have to learn about how to approach and communicate to your child, because ignorance is going to just create more problems down the line. Anyway, so that's the advice. For more mental health, for politics, for theory, anything intellectual, you name it, we cover on the show. Mainly philosophy, politics, mental health, theory, some divine theory, theorizing about God. Anyway, if you like what you hear on this channel, stay tuned more into the pioneer of true centrism. And please like and subscribe to the video. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. Hype button is important for smaller channels like mine, so it helps them to get pushed. Like the video, but most importantly, please subscribe, and also most importantly, please subscribe, because people aren't subscribing. I would appreciate it very much if you do. Thank you very much, and that's the video.